Hello, this is Ty Anderson for Add-in Express, and welcome to part 2 of building an end-to-end solution using Add-in Express. In this part of the video, we're going to extend what we were doing in part 1, which was building out the graphical user interface. And what we'll do here is we'll do three things. One is create advanced task panes. Two, we'll create advanced Outlook form regions, and then we'll finish off by showing you how to host non-Office or .NET controls inside of an Office command bar. If you've watched part 1 of this series, then you might recall that we are building a tasks add-in that will allow us to view task information inside of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. If you've watched that video, then you might recall that I showed you how to build several elements related around the ribbon and the command bar. So the ribbon being available inside of Office 2007 and 2010, and command bars being available also partially inside of Office 2007 and then all previous versions. And we covered things like building a custom tab for a ribbon, how to customize or how to add to at least the backstage element of Office 2010. Showed you how to do context menus inside of Office 2007, 2010, and previous versions, as well as how to create a custom command bar. So that's what you're seeing here already inside of the add-in module. These are the components that we've already created inside of part 1. So from this point on, I'm going to cover all the new stuff. The first of which are advanced task panes. And if you're familiar with Office Action Panes or Office Custom Task Panes available in Office 2003 or 2007 respectively, these are the advanced version of them, and they're only available using Add-in Express. Now, using advanced task panes, you can create .NET forms, any native .NET form, and then host them inside of Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and specify which region of the screen or of that application window you'd like to have them display. Now, they're supported for all versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint from 2000 to 2010, and you can resize them, hide them, minimize them. You can allow the users to move them and drag between the different regions that are available or supported, and then you can also do this via code. So in this demo, what I'm going to do is we're going to create first the different native forms that we needed to make, the native .NET forms that will run in our add-in, and then we'll drop in the components required to display them inside of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Bearing in mind that in this video we're not going to get a lot into programmability. In fact, we're not going to at all. We're going to draw out the UI, and then in part 3 we're really going to dig into the code and interacting between the ATX components and the Office components. Let's get started by building the 3 advanced task panes that will be hosted inside of Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. And we'll do this by first adding to the add-in module designer the ATX Excel Task Panes Manager, and I'll do that by clicking it. And what this object does is it will manage all the advanced task panes that I am going to add to this project that will load inside of Excel. In this case, there's only going to be one, and what I'm going to do is come over to the Solution Explorer, and I will right click on the My Tasks End-to-End project, and I will say Add New Item. Now in the installed templates we have the Add-in Express items, and I will just go to Excel and we'll see that it filters straight to all of the Excel items. I can do the same for just generic module types, Outlook, PowerPoint, and Word. It's just a nice way to quickly filter based off of the targeted application. So here I want Excel, and I want the ATX Excel Task Pane, and I will leave the name as ATX Excel Task Pane 1. Once created, the task pane opens with the code view. I'm not really worried about that right now, so I will close that, and let's go back to the Solution Explorer, and I will right click, and actually let's make this window a little larger so we can see everything. And I also can right click in the add-in module Visual Designer and tell it to, if we go up to the very top, whoops, close that back and try it again. Just a right click inside of the designer, and I will say line up icons, and it lines them all up right there where I can see all of them, and none of the Visual Studio windows obscure the view of the icons. Now we're ready to go ahead and design this task pane, so I will right click on it in the Solution Explorer and say View Designer, And let's just go ahead and resize it so that it'll look nice at the bottom of an Excel window. And from here now I want to go ahead and show the toolbox, and I want a container. I'm going to add a panel control, and we'll set this panel control to white, or its back color to white. And let me find the dock property. We'll tell it to reside at the very top. Maybe I'll make this a bit bigger. And now this panel is going to host a label and a picture box, but let's start with the label. First off, let's change its text to say My Tasks. And let's move up and find the font property. There we go. And we'll change that to size of 16, leave everything else the same. And next what we need is the picture box. We'll add that to the top left hand corner of the panel. I'm going to go ahead and resize it slightly. And now let's do choose image and import an image from my Visual Studio image library. I'll go to Objects, ICO Format, WinXP, and change the filter to all files, and I'll be able to see the ICO formats. I'm going to scroll down to this icon here, Properties OROptions.ico, because it has a check mark and some paper, kind of looks like a task list. And I'll say Open, and then I'll say OK, and now my image is there, and I'll just go ahead and kind of move these up a little bit and resize that. And now I'll save and close this task pane and hide the toolbox, and we'll go ahead and select the ATX Excel Task Panes Manager in the Add-in Designer. Each kind of task pane that you can make or build, the Excel, Word, or PowerPoint, each of them have a corresponding Task Panes Manager, which allows you to build different kinds of collections that handle the behavior of each of your advanced task panes. So let's take a look at this. So for Excel, I'm going to go to the items, or the ATX Excel Task Panes Manager, and inside of its properties I'll go to items, and I'll open up the ATX Excel Task Panes Collection Editor. First I need to create a new ATX Excel Task Panes Collection item, which I did by hitting the Add button, which now I have a collection item, which this collection will host an advanced task pane, and in this, since it's Excel, it will only host an Excel task pane. Here I can begin to define, or I do define, all the properties that handle the behavior of this task pane. I'm going to go ahead and start with the first property that I think is the most important, which is your task pane class name. If we've done everything right, we should see the ATX Excel Task Pane 1, which is the exact item that we created when we added the Excel Task Pane to the project. Also, too, notice that the name of the project, the My Tasks End-to-End, that's the prefix of the task pane class name. So if I had multiple class names in here, they would all be my tasks end-to-end, and then each of the different Excel task panes that I'd have in this solution would be listed, and I could choose one of them for this collection. I only have one ATX Excel task pane in this solution, so I'll go ahead and select the one that I have. Now that's the first property that I think is the most important. The next that I think is second most important is the position, where we can define where this task pane will display inside of the Excel window, top, bottom, right, or left. For this demo I'm going to choose bottom. Everything else, well, I may go ahead and add a close button. That's fine. We'll say true, and always show header. Everything else I'm going to go ahead and leave as the default options. I'll say OK, and now we have successfully built an advanced task pane for Excel, and we've properly configured it with an Excel Task Panes Manager. Now what we need to do is add two more task panes, one being the Word task pane and the other being the PowerPoint task pane, and then we'll go ahead and add two more task pane managers, one for Word and one for PowerPoint, that will manage these two new task panes. So I'll go ahead and add both the PowerPoint Task Panes Manager and the Word Task Panes Manager to the project. And next I will just add new item. And in this case, let's do Word, and we'll say Word, ATX Word Task Pane. We'll add that to the project. And it also opens in code. I'll close that. And let's open the ATX Excel Task Pane and select all of those objects there. And now I'll open up the ATX Word Task Pane. Let's make it kind of the same size roughly, and I did a Control V to paste all of the objects that I did a Control C over here to copy them. So now I have in my ATX Word Task Pane 1, I have everything designed just like I'd want. So if I look at the panel, we see that the back color is white. The dock is the top. Everything's exactly how I want, so that we have a design consistency. Go ahead and do a save, Control S, and go back to the add-in module where I'll go to the ATX Word Task Panes Manager and go over to the items collection, and we'll do exactly everything we did for Excel. Make the window larger. So I have the ATX Word Task Panes Collection Item 1, and for the Task Pane class name, we have ATX Word Task Pane 1 with my tasks end to end as the prefix. Notice that the Excel Task Pane doesn't display it. It properly filters just the Word Task Panes for us. I'll go ahead and select that as the Task Pane class name. For the position, I'll do exactly what I did for Excel, which is the bottom, and for the close button I'll say true, and for always show header I'll say true, and that's all set. I'll say OK, and let's go ahead and add one more item for the PowerPoint Task Pane. So right click on the project name, say add new item. Let's go to PowerPoint, and I'll choose the ATX PowerPoint Task Pane and click add. And once again, just make sure I have everything I want selected. I'll do Control C, or we could have done edit, copy. Now let's go to the ATX PowerPoint Task Pane and open it up. I'll resize it and then edit, paste. Great. Exactly how we want it. I'll save it. We'll close that. We'll close the Excel Designer. And even the start page. Okay. Now let's go ahead and try this out just with a quick demo of each of the applications, and we can see the task panes in action. So I will go to the menu of Visual Studio and I'll say Build Solution. And now that the build has succeeded, I need to do one other step, and that is to register the ATX project so that the Office applications will know it exists and will run it. And now that that has succeeded, I'll go ahead and open up Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and we can see the task panes display at the bottom just as we would expect them to. And so there we go with our icon and the My Tasks, and we see the header, and we also have our close button and the default minimize and expand buttons as well right there in Word. So let's take another look real quick in Excel. And there we go. We see everything just as we would expect. And one last time, let's look at PowerPoint. There we go, My Tasks, just as we would expect. So it did take 3 different advanced task panes with 3 different advanced task managers, but we have the same design across all 3 of those applications working just exactly as we'd expect, because that's how we designed it. Now let's go ahead and tackle the task pane equivalent for Outlook, which is the advanced form regions. And what we'll do is we'll start out by adding the ATX Outlook Forms Manager to our add-in module, and then I'll right click and do an add new item, And in the installed templates, we'll choose Outlook, and I want to choose the ATX Outlook form, and I'll just choose the default name. Close that, and let's open in design mode. And just like with the task panes, we'll just do a little something. This one here is going to look a little different, and in the toolbox I want to grab a label, and for now we're just going to put a big label on it that says more to come. And for the font, I'll make it even larger than last time, something like that. There we go. And the reason for this is we're going to do something unique where we're accessing objects inside of the Outlook object model, and we'll do something here that's different than what we're doing in the task panes. So for now, I just want to display it, more to come, and we'll get into that in part 3 when we dig into code. Now that is done, or this advanced form region is done, and I can close it. But what we need to do now is configure it, and I'll select the ATX OL Forms Manager 1, and we'll move to the items collection. And just like with task panes, we'll create a new collection item, and then we'll specify what we want to use as the advanced form region. So first off, let's find the form class name property, and we'll select ATX OL Form 1, which is the form I just added, and then also too, just like with task panes, the name of the project is the beginning of the whole name. So my tasks end-to-end.atxol form 1. I want to go ahead and enable the close button and show header. That's great, and I'm done with the miscellaneous properties. Now for the Explorer section, I want to enable what types I want this form region to show, and I want to show them for mail types and contact types, and that's it. Then for the layout, I want to show the form region in the bottom subpane, and that's it for Explorer. Now in the inspector, I could do the same kind of thing. I could choose among the different types, and I don't really want to for this demo, but they're there and they work just like the Explorer properties. But we're not going to configure anything at the inspector level, and I'll just say OK. To see it running in Outlook, I'll go ahead and build a new version. And because I already registered the ATX project, I don't need to do that again. So I can now just run Outlook. And there we go. We see in the inbox, more to come, and also too, if I go to my contacts, there we go, more to come. So it's working just exactly as we would expect it to. Now to finish off this demo, let's do one last thing, and I'll show you how to host a third-party control or a non-office control inside of an Office command bar. So let's open, or I'll select the task add-in command bar, where we have our custom command bar for the Office 2003 and earlier versions of Office that will run this demo add-in. But what I want to do is I want to replace this start date and the due date controls with what's known as advanced controls. So let me just right click and delete, and I'll say yes. Start date, delete it as well. I'll say yes. Now what we want to do, I'll select the add-in command bar object, and I want to add an ATX command bar advanced control, and I'll move it up a bit. I'll name it, double click and grab all the text there, and I will name this start date AC for advanced control, and I'll do another one. And this one, double click and get all the text and say due date AC. And so what these do, they're just little placeholders on the command bar that will allow me to take a control, like say any Windows form control, and place it on a command bar using nicer controls than are available, say, with the standard Office command bar controls. So to do this, what I need to do is I will open up the toolbox again, and I am looking for my date-time picker. There it is. So here's one, and I'm going to go ahead and add two because we need one for each of the advanced controls I'm hosting. So date-time picker 1 and date-time picker 2. And I'll hide that window. We'll make a little more room so we can see more of the properties. And now let's go back to the task add-in command bar, and I'll select the start date advanced control. And if we move over to the control property, I can pick the date-time picker 1, which is this guy right there. And now, once I've picked a control, notice that the control has a bunch of sub-properties that are available, which are really all of the standard properties available from the control that's been picked, or the control type. So in this case, it's a date-time picker, and we'll see things like the maximum date. We should be able to see a minimum date right there. All these things that you would typically see in a Windows form host, they're available right here for us to edit and utilize. So there's no loss of functionality. Now let's do due date, and I will pick date-time picker 2. And now I have hosted. I will have at runtime. You'll see both of these controls hosted correctly inside of the Office command bar. Now, one thing to really stress is that these advanced controls only work on command bars. The ribbon does not support them. That is a key thing. So only Office applications, whatever version, that display a command bar will this functionality work with it. So Office 2003 and earlier, and then the Office 2007 apps that use the command bar also support it. So that's a key point. Just want to make sure that you're aware of that before we do anything else. And that something else is to go back to our toolbox, and if you look at the very top, we have toolbar controls for Microsoft Office. And what these are adapters, ATX adapters that control the implementation and hosting of the third-party controls inside of Office. So what we need to do is just drag these onto our designer, since we're using them, and then now everything will run just the way we need them to inside of Office. So once you've built the toolbar or the command bar, hosted advanced controls and configured them with third-party controls or non-Office controls, then go ahead and throw these adapters onto your add-in module designer, as they are the controls that control the implementation and hosting of the non-Office controls for your add-in. So let's go ahead and demo this, and what I want to do is create a setup project that I can install on another system of mine that's running Office 2003, so that you can see these third-party controls hosted inside of Office 2003 in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. So what I need to do is up here in the project, I need to do project create setup project, and this will create the new setup project wizard, which is an ATX wizard, and I'm going to choose the defaults here and say yeah, that's all good, and we'll do finish. And now we'll see that I have two projects in my solution. There we go. And there. So here's the setup project. And for the setup program, I want to edit my properties quickly and change my prerequisites so that I don't create a setup program to install prerequisite components. I'm just going to assume the user has them at the moment or knows how to install them if they don't. Next, I'll start by building the My Tasks end-to-end. And then now let's do build my task end-to-end setup. And you'll see here real quickly this ATX, the warning for the ATX 64-bit loader. This is just so that if you happen to install it on a 64-bit version of Office 2010, that the add-in will load and be supported. It's just on the compiling in the target of an x86 platform or 32-bit platform. Just a warning that this DLL doesn't work for that, but it's included automatically, so you have 64-bit support. I'm going to now go ahead and install this on my Office 2003 system, and I'll see you on the other side to demo that. Okay, I'm back, and this is Office 2003, actually Excel 2003, running on my Windows 7 installation. You see that we have our Excel task pane right here, functioning just as we expected it to, and then just the way it was with my Office 2010 system. And then two, we have our task bar with the task title, and then we'll see our two controls where we can pick whatever dates we want. So we've successfully created a toolbar hosting .NET controls. Now that you've seen this, you've seen everything there is that's in this video. I've shown you how to create advanced task regions and have them display in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. We then moved on to how to create advanced form regions and display them inside of Outlook in the bottom subpane. And then lastly, I showed how to create how to show .NET controls on an Office command bar, and then also how to have them display inside of previous versions of Office, for example here, Excel 2003. In the next video, in part 3, we're actually going to start digging into the code aspect, and now that we have our graphical user interface rounded out, we're going to dig into code, and we're going to interact between ATX and the Office applications. So that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.